Okay, thank you everybody. The last thing that you normally want as a presenter is to be the last presenter before lunch. And the worst thing is to be the last presenter when everything else has run over time before lunch. So I'm going to try to make this quick, and I apologise for any abbreviation of the presentation that I do in editing. But Hempwood is an American small business startup created about 5 years ago with Greg Wilson, who's a colleague of mine over many years. We both came out of the flooring and timber industry, and the great concept that Greg had about hemp was, well, can we make a substitute for timber products with similar properties? And so my talk today is, well, we've taken the hemp stalk and we've created a flooring material from it. We also create a lot of other sawn hemp products, but the big focus of the company has been in flooring. So the growing and the harvesting of hemp, we landed in a place called Murray in Kentucky. And you might say to yourself, well, why Murray? And Murray was because Dr. Tony Brandon was the Dean of Agriculture at Murray University, and his backstory was wonderful. He got some seed from Europe when it was still illegal to have hemp seed in America, got the tip off from the local county judge that the FDA were aware that he had this seed and were going to come and grab it from him. And Tony's solution was, hang on guys, let's go out and plant this thing before they arrive. And so when they arrived, he said, oh yes, we do, it's over that paddock. Fortunately, it was only a few weeks before it became legalised. So Tony got the head start to have a crop in the ground. And we thought, well, with that sort of adventurism, we ought to certainly look at how we can co-locate with Murray University. The beauty of that approach was that we ended up also finding out Murray University had a professor of chemistry, Kevin Miller, who was a very good biochemist and was exceptionally talented and unusual. He chose Murray for a lifestyle reason rather than being at one of the more sandstone equivalents, whatever they are in America universities. So there was a fortuitous meeting there. We went into various crops that were established under Tony's direction around Murray, and obviously there they grow their hemp quite tall. They normally get up to about 2 metres height in a hemp crop. They harvest it. Some of them have got combined headers like the machines we've been speaking of today. Others go through 2-pass. For hempwood, we would prefer to get the stalk in the maximum length possible, because using the whole stalk, we want to be able to lay it in our process in greatest length. So we do use square bales, and they have limitations in that getting the strength along the board means very, very careful layups to make sure that joints between the biscuits when you pull the bale apart come together. The other one, that was our second season experience of having gathered hemp. We didn't sort of quite work out ahead of time how much storage you needed for the stuff. And so, yeah, that season was really quite exciting. We ended up, from the first season, we had about 300 tonnes of hemp that we processed that season. We found that we were losing about 10% towards the end of the period because the mould had been grown in the bales, and we didn't want to use material with mould in the product. So we wrapped the bales. Somebody came along and offered to inject the bales at reasonable cost, but still a cost with nitrogen, because that, they said, would keep down the growth of mould. And at the end of the second season, we had 10% of the bales that still had mould. So we haven't done that again. And we've also now got undercover storage for the bales. But our goal is, as I said, continuous stalks, and our preference would be, it would be wonderful if you could get the stalk in a square bale, whole length of the bale, and it just come straight into the process off the bale. It's not going to happen in the near future, but it is what we would, see as our nirvana. Oh, what did I do there? I think I might have clicked. There we go. So when it arrives at the factory, we started this factory on a shoestring, right? There were 8 angel investors who were family friends of Greg's, who sort of put in somewhere between $200,000 and $500,000 each to make up enough to get the factory established. About $4 million, $5 million you got together at that stage. So a lot of the front end equipment we ended up having to manufacture ourselves. Our unbaler, you get a tractor, you stick a spear through the middle of the bale, lift it onto a machine with a rotating drum to just unwind it off the bale. You then put it in. You can't see particularly well, but that's being laid over basically a plastic trellis net, which we use to bundle it up to put it into the adhesive baths. So it gets soaked in the baths in the net. Each one of those bales has been weighed so that they are always at 8 pounds before they go in the bath. The bath is a soy based flour, so we're trying soy flour based adhesive, so we're trying to keep it all green, and then it gets soaked in the bath and lifted out. As I said, Murray State, we've been using various experiments, because one of the problems with the soy based adhesive at the beginning was it just absorbed moisture. And so the wood would just blow up like a top. So we're looking at how do we do some minor additives to just strengthen that down. We started off with K-mean, which was useful, but we've now progressed to Element X, which nobody tells me about, but they tell me it works much, much better. We had to make our own dryers and very, very Heath Robinson racking system, because once it comes out of the adhesive, you want to put it out to dry, get the moisture back out of it, because we're trying to make a product with about 12% moisture, right? So we've always got to get moisture out. We then use, and waste is the wrong product, wrong term, it's residue. And we convert the residue, we use 100% of what comes in as hemp, gets either used in the process, gets sold for other uses, such as the sander dust off our flooring gets sold to a plastics manufacturer who uses an extender or a binder or something. Our sawdust off the saws gets used in another process by someone else. And this is just the chopped up ends of the block that get trimmed off and used to heat our ovens in the factory. So the whole factory basically gets heated with the hemp that comes in, or with the residues of the hemp that comes in. In the pressing process, again, consistency is a key issue. So weighed charges, it's all a batch process, so weighed charges go into the pre-press, and then you can see there it's sitting in the main press. At the bottom of the press there's a mould, and then the press comes down and squashes the straw into a block. 3,000 tonnes of pressure going on top of that mould. The mould's 150 millimetres wide, about 150 millimetres deep, and about 1.8 metres long. And there it is going down, and finally it comes out with the pins inserted on top to keep it all compressed so it doesn't all spring apart, and goes to thermosetting. Right, so it sits in the oven, soaks overnight at about 200 C, 190 C, and thermosets the glue, and I've done it again. And finally we can cut it. You can see from the block we can cut quite thin lamellas, and the reason we do that is that at the moment the cost of that block is sort of much more than even American oak, which is the most expensive wood that you've got in the States. So for the flooring, we cut it into lamellas and lay it over a plywood background. Just this year, that's the flooring line that you see on the right there that we have installed within our factory process, and that line tints the top surface. You'll see there's a couple of samples over there. You can colour it. Most people just go for a natural look and finish it on site, but that's what the product can end up looking like.
Is there any finish to the surface?
It's normally a Boma. It's normally well, when it goes through the flooring line, it gets sanded, and it's an ultraviolet cured Boma oil that goes over it, or it goes out raw and people finish it on site. And as with everything, there's a lot of testing. I think the really important thing, that hardness test for the Yanker ball is sort of indicative of the strength and the density of the product. We're sitting at roughly 1 tonne per cubic metre of product density, which is heavier than wood. So, yeah. If you're interested further, get onto the website, and there's if you want more on how we make it, there's a series of YouTube videos called "How the Heck Do We Make Hemp Wood?"